Welcome, everyone. Happy Monday. Captain America, Brave New World. The second weekend drop. Is it a flop? We will discuss it. Plus, lots of movie news, including Amazon in bed with James Bond. Who saw that coming? Is 007 going to survive a giant corporation? We will discuss it. Our returning champions are all here. I'm excited, and big news at the top of the show. Lucky you're here early. Feel lucky you're here early. We have some big news. So let's get things started. Let's pop things off. Let's start the show. Let's go. Hey, everyone. How's it going today?
Hey.
Hi.
All right.
Hey, Derek Anderson, the DA, texted me. He's having internet issues. He will join us shortly. But why doesn't everyone, we'll go around the horn, everyone introduce themselves and plug your channels before we get started here.
Oh, Angry Badger, by all means, check us out. I apologize. Me and the birthday boy, we were debating the finer points of Hook and the Goonies. But sorry, we're here now. We're here now. Happy birthday, Robert.
So, guys, Dante from Verbal Riot, YouTube, Rumble, and X. You can find me there at all times. And yeah, I'm ready to talk about Captain Fall Off.
I'm Rob Burnett over from the from the Burnett Work on YouTube, and really, what Badger was really angry about is why I consider Return of the Jedi the most disappointing cinematic experience of my entire life.
True.
And I'm Alan, Film Threat, and a dream came true. I made it into a Breitbart article. So there we go.
Is that true? All right, wait, Alan. True? Before we get to tell us the story, I know I'm hearing this for the first time. What is it?
Yeah, no, they basically tweeted or put in their article a tweet I did about Disney prices and how it's too expensive to go to Disney. And
we are the media now.
Yeah, we are. We are the media.
Oh my God,
that's
Alan. Crazy. Well, before we get to the box, we're going to do box office first. We have a couple quick news stories, then we'll get into James Bond. But I want to let people know that on Sunday, March 2nd, approximately 4 p.m. in the afternoon, come watch the Film Threat Oscars watch party. It's happening. Many of the people that you see here will be at the watch party. I haven't asked them yet, but I hope they'll be there.
I won't even drink.
They will be there. And we will be joined by Gary from Nerdrotic, Az from Heel versus Babyface, among others. And here I illegally went and shot this promo.
Hey everyone, Chris Gore here, and I am at the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences Museum, and this is your friendly reminder to watch the Film Threat Oscar Watch Party on Sunday, March 2nd. Alan Ng will be there, Az from Heel vs. Babyface, Verbal Riot Show Dante James, and of course Gary from the Nerdrotic is Toxic channel. So join us as we watch the Oscars together, kind of suffer through it. You need us. And I have one Oscar prediction that comes true every year, and that prediction is it will be boring. Unless you watch us, then it'll be a lot of fun.
So this is news to you guys now, but can you be on the show? If you want to be on, love to have you. You don't have to
Another
be on the
chance
whole
to
time.
wear the tuxedo.
I will be in a tux. Alan,
I'm going to be there because I want to watch Amelia Perez sweep the Oscars.
Yes.
Sweep the Oscars.
You swing by many friends.
I will be there, and I won't drink this year.
No.
No.
You have to drink, Rob.
I was way too drunk on that show.
Oh my
you
God.
weren't. No, you weren't. You can handle your booze.
You might have to with Amelia Perez. You might have to.
Oh man.
That show will go down in infamy, Rob.
Somebody made the funniest meme of me from that. I God bless him.
It's going to be a lot of fun. We do this every year. We have a lot of fun with it. it's a blast. So I do have something quick. There's a dumb thing that you can do. So I went to the Academy Museum. I've been a member for almost a year and never actually went. So I went there. I saw the Oscar documentary shorts. Now I've seen all the short films. I will help you win because I know which ones will probably win. But I saw the Oscar doc shorts. Then I did the museum. To be honest, the museum is kind of for tourists and normies. To be fair, there were some really cool props, but it's also it's kind of woke. The museum. I was a little disappointed. Yeah, it's a little like they had Billy Porter's tuxedo dress or whatever, which was strange. So I don't know. I liked it overall. It's there were some cool displays there. They did a whole thing on cyberpunk, which I thought was pretty cool.
They're having a film festival there too, a cyberpunk film festival.
Yeah, they do. So I've been to the museum for screenings, but never done the museum. And they have an experience where you can accept an Oscar. So I did it. So here it is. Well, that was a good use of $7, I guess. But
you wore the Oscars Can Suck It t-shirt to the museum.
I wore, and I was hiding it because I thought they're going to kick me out. They're going to, and I immediately downloaded it to my phone when I got it because I'm like, they're not. I took pictures of myself at the museum wearing this shirt, and I couldn't believe that no one stopped me. It was a weird thing. So I was trying to be just like low key at the museum. I'm going to go to the museum and I'm going to do promos for our watch party just for the F of it. So I was there in the shirt, and they do a thing where you can be like, you're on the red carpet. I know it's dumb, but I was thinking, how can I promote our watch party? So there you go. Just hide the shirt. All right, let's get into it. Alan, the box office, if you would share screen. The numbers are not looking good. Captain America dropped off by 68%. Now it's still number one, but at 28.2 million, a drop off of 68%. Something, and in the UK, the movie was the number 2 movie. It was beaten by, what was it beaten by again? It was like
it was Paddington in Peru, probably.
Paddington in Peru beat a Marvel movie in its second weekend and something else. But so, how do we interpret this? I mean, it's so funny. I was listening to a Geeks and Gamers Daily, and they were talking about I missed the days when Thor: The Dark World was a bad Marvel movie, because now, it's just, yeah, right. It's like, I remember that movie. I'm like, all right, I know it's not great. I like the character, so I had fun. But in this case,
okay, you know what? But we can't keep going back to that. And what I mean by that is this, guys. Yes, Thor: The Dark World was terrible, right? Iron Man 3 for me was terrible. There's a lot of old MCU that wasn't great. Okay, that wasn't great. But here's the thing: the MCU back in those days were just finding their footing, right? They were just kind of throwing things out there, but at least they were still trying to give the fans what they want. They were just trying to make that bridge between the comics and the movies. We're talking old MCU here. After Endgame, there is no excuse for a bad MCU movie anymore. There's none. They know they cracked the formula. They know what they need to do. They just haven't been doing it because of the bullshit. That's why. Because of DEI. That's why. So I can forgive The Dark World. I can forgive Iron Man 3 because they were at least trying. They're not even trying.
Well, they're also inconsequential. I mean, I was talking about this on the John Campea show, and he had a list of the box office second week drop-offs of all the MCU movies. The largest week 2 drop-offs were all post-Endgame movies. And I think all of them. And I think and Eternals, by the way, was not part of that top list. I think one of the big mistakes that we've seen is that when Marvel started to go with their multiverse, nothing had anything to do with anything else. Whereas from the beginning of Iron Man 1, which was really a great story. If Iron Man 1 wasn't an Iron Man movie and it was just the story of a man coming to grips with his conscience because he had been building weapons that had been used to kill people, and he finally had a change of heart and he had to go back and get his company back, that could have been a great movie. But as it was the beginning of the Marvel Universe. It was Tony Stark. You had a star-making performance in Robert Downey Jr., who was, had his problems. He comes back in grand fashion. And at the end of that movie, the post-credit scene, we learn about the Avengers Initiative. So immediately then they build up over 5 years or 4 years to get to the first Avengers movie. And you felt like you were a part of something that had real thought behind it. And they were building these blocks, and some might have been a little stronger than others, but they were building towards something, and you felt it. So you got an individual film that worked, but then you had this ongoing, unfolding meta story. Well, ever since Endgame, nothing matters. This story they're telling, what are they telling? They could have started off and said, when Thanos snapped his fingers, he was successful doing what he wanted to do, but he also tore the fabric of space-time, making our universe now susceptible to incursions or whatever. And each movie could have somehow been dealing with that larger. Instead, we get a flashback movie of Black Widow, who's dead. And I love Florence Pugh. I think she's sexy. I think she's a great actress, and she gets introduced. But that movie was entirely inconsequential.
Well, she wasn't the problem with that movie.
No, and
she kind of saved that movie.
You look at this Captain America movie. This movie was not about Sam Wilson.
No,
it was like it was all about the Hulk. What was Sam Wilson's journey that he was taking in this movie?
Oh, I can tell you, Rob, he's a black man who has to now bear the shield of the country that used to enslave black people 400 years ago. That was the point of Sam Wilson's journey.
But the even that said it was empathy. It was he had a journey of empathy, Rob.
But how do you not?
He was empathetic.
How does this movie not start in Wakanda, where the Wakandans are giving Sam Wilson his new armor?
Why do you keep writing better movies than they're capable of?
Well, but why didn't the Wakandans say, Sam, why don't you come? We've got all this technology. We're still new in the world. We need someone like you to be our ambassador.
Rob, you're trying to make a better movie right now, and
where were the Atlanteans? Where was the whatever they? Why weren't the Atlanteans seemingly? You have a seafaring race, and you had the ocean opened up by a giant celestial. Why didn't the Atlanteans take Celestial Island for themselves and say, look, this came out of the ocean, it messed up what we deal with, no one gets this island except us?
You're asking all the right questions, man.
It had nothing to do. Why are we looking at France, India, and Japan when we could have been dealing with the international incident was the Wakandans and the Atlanteans, and you had to have Sam Wilson caught in the middle of all this because he's an ally of Wakanda, and how he suddenly has to stop the rest of the world from like, no. How do they not know this?
See, that's my point, Rob, is that they know how to do this right. They know this, right? That's the thing that's bugging me, is we're acting like these people are incompetent. Yes. Well, on some level, sure. But it's more devious than incompetence, right? I can handle a bad movie. If it's just badly written and it's just a bad movie for, just because it's a bad movie, I'm okay with that, right? What I'm not okay with is you're being bad for the purpose of an agenda. That's what pisses me off. And like I said, these people know how to make a good movie. They probably had a better plan in mind after Endgame, and they decided to trash that to go with whatever garbage we got now. For the sake purely of DEI, for the sake of DEI.
They were supposed to go cosmic, and then they were whatever they would do with their multiverse, and it threw their whole thing off track. And they spent all the phases after Endgame not doing anything, leading to nowhere, and letting Kevin push all the agendas he wanted to push. That, as Chris said, we tried it, it didn't work, and now they're course correcting. So all this, they could have, they should have, they would have. It doesn't fucking matter. It's done. It's horrible. Let's see what their course correction is.
And you know what the really funny thing about all of this is for me is, I mean, I sound really passionate right now, and I sound even a little angry. My thing is this: I thought the movie was fine. I thought it was just okay. I didn't hate this movie at all. But right before I hopped on to do this show, I was watching, which I kind of normally do every now and then. I watch the Shields on YouTube talk about, the MCU or Lucasfilm, and I happened to watch a couple of Shields who were talking about this movie, and they were literally blaming the fact that, oh, the reason why these movies aren't doing well after Endgame is because everybody's expectations were so big after Endgame that everything else falls short compared to, you know, the big pageantry of what Infinity War and Endgame was, right? So it's not that the movies are bad, it's just that people's expectations were too high. And I'm tired of hearing that argument because
I think you're absolutely right.
Is
That's
BS.
Yeah. Yes.
James, you owe me a Coke.
Well, the other thing is look at all the directors of the post Endgame movies.
Oh,
Not merit based.
no.
Yeah, I mean, you had great directors at the beginning: Kenneth Branagh, Jon Favreau, James Gunn, for crying out loud. And now they're just hiring
Joss Whedon. Two Avengers movies.
Anyone can make a Marvel movie now, and apparently they fully believe that.
Anyone has. Yeah. No, they just were throwing them out there.
Well, I mean, it was smart in the beginning to bring in indie filmmakers like a James Gunn, right? Like, I mean, Jon Favreau's roots are in indie with Swingers. So, you know, I think very wise strategy, but then it seemed to be that they were casting directors, kind of like how they do politicians.
Yep.
You know, it's a ceremonial role. You don't have to actually do the work. You're just exalted in that position. And then you give, I don't know, just like you perform that job. You don't actually do the job. Whereas the filmmakers in the beginning really had to build that. And people forget that Favreau and James Gunn in particular were involved in planning out that Infinity Saga. And then when it got to the multiverse, and you're right, Rob, the results of that should have created the next thing. And then even the last San Diego Comic-Con, when Gary from Nerdrotic and I were there, and they said, we're not talking about phases. We're just going to tell you about some movies. And that's it. No TV shows, no phases, no long-term planning. Here's movies we're putting out in the next year. And that was it. So they're playing it. I feel like a lot of things have been shelved. A lot of plans have been altered. Obviously, Kang. We don't know what's going on with Kang. I do know what's going on with Verbal Riot's Kang Funko Pop, which for some reason still is at my place. I don't know how many.
I just keep forgetting it. That's all.
Yeah, sure you do. Sure. But anyways, and now they're talking about maybe bringing Kang back because, I mean, to be fair, that Jonathan Majors trailer for Magazine Dreams looks really good. A really solid indie movie.
Well, thank God it's coming out because I think he kind of got shafted.
He did, and he was supposed to be. They were mounting.
All it takes is an accusation, man. That's all it takes.
They had an Oscar campaign planned. It was all in the works and all canceled at the last minute. Anyways, and it looks like a very good film. To be fair, but
the big mistake they made. I mean, Quantum Mania. You took the Ant-Man movies, which I think are pretty delightful, the first two, and then you throw them into. You know, the great thing about the Ant-Man movies is they were fairly grounded. You know, if you look at the first Ant-Man film, it's really like Tony Stark. It's about a guy who wants to get back together with his family, and it literally ends in a train chase in his daughter's bedroom, which was delightful.
Right. Yeah.
And then they decide to you go from Ant-Man 1 to Ant-Man Quantumania, where there's not a shred of reality in that. You take this character who was by definition a little grounded. I mean, Shrinking and all that and Giant Man and Civil War. You make this character very relatable, and then you take him out of all the environments that make him who he is and expect him to launch this next phase with Kang in the most ridiculous way possible.
Yeah, but Rob, you know how that could have worked is if they killed Ant-Man. If they killed Ant-Man, that could have worked.
I just think that realm, you know, going into the quantum realm, when it became Fantasyland and Bill Murray shows up and you've got MODOK looking the way he looks, you destroy the credibility. I mean, the thing that people don't, I don't think the Marvel Universe ever gets enough credibility for this. But in the beginning, they had to make all of us believe that Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor could exist in the same universe. How do you do that? Especially after you watch Iron Man 1. I was thinking to myself, how are they going to get Asgard working in this universe? It was brilliant. It was the way they brought all those characters together and made them work. They added the Hulk, they added Black Widow, and we loved them. It was slow and it was methodical and it was really well done. Sure, I mean, I enjoy Iron Man 3 more than you, Verbal, but they did a great job, threading that needle. And by the time you get to Avengers with Loki and then adding in the Qatari and with Thanos behind the whole thing, we're locked in, man.
Mhm.
That was a brilliantly conceived way of doing things. And watching the sludge of what's happened since Endgame, I've never seen a company that made more money than any company off a franchise in Hollywood history fuck up.
And why does that happen? Because who's left? All the creatives have left. Who's left? Kevin Feige, a charlatan from day one. I'm with Rob Liefeld now. Fire Kevin Feige. He was never good. He's Kathleen Kennedy and Dave Filoni in one horrible package. Yep, I'll be the hot takey one. All we are doing is imaginary masturbatory exercises of would they, could they, or should they. They messed it up. It's messed up. Can they course correct? Let's see.
No.
I really think they had a great 10-year run. And when you look at anything, how do you remain on top of the business? Banger after banger, some duds too, but even the duds didn't hit depths, like we said, Thor: The Dark World was a bad Marvel movie back in the day. And we kind of look fondly on Thor: The Dark World, some of us maybe, but you know what I mean? Like you get 10 years and then maybe go do something else, and maybe
I know what didn't help them was Disney Plus.
It destroyed them.
It destroyed it. I mean, think about it. And I think it was you, Rob, who said that, you were somebody else in the space here said that, back in the day, the movies could affect the TV shows, but the TV shows never affected the movies. And for Captain America to work, well, Captain America Brave New World worked to the best of its ability. You would have had to have seen Falcon and Winter Soldier, which a lot of people did not see. And the thing is, Marvel has lost all momentum because every post-credit scene built on the last post-credit scene. Sure, we had some post-credit scenes that were funny. Like, I like the one where Captain America, Peter Parker was in he had to stay after class and watch a Captain America movie, for punishment. Like, that was funny. Like, a couple were funny, but they built and there wasn't this distance. Captain America and Winter Soldier came out 2-3 years ago. I'm supposed to remember all that. Hulk 17 years ago. We're supposed to remember the leader. I mean, it's stupid.
By the way,
they were trying to do some really, really deep pulls in that movie. And I'll be honest. Again, with all that said, it was just fine. Like, it wasn't I mean, none of us were biting our nails wondering what happened to Samuel Stern at the end of The Incredible Hulk. No one really cared, right? The fact that they brought him back was oh, I remember that guy, but we didn't really care. But here's the thing: if you're going to bring in a villain like the leader, right? And again, maybe this is just a comic book nerd thing, then at least have him be smart.
Right.
Right. I mean, at the very least.
Well, by the way, Thor: The Dark World internationally grossed $438,421,000, and it worldwide pulled in $644 million and change. Actually, almost $645 million. $645 million. Captain America: Brave New World is going to get nowhere near that internationally.
Yeah.
I mean, worldwide.
Yeah.
And to sit there and go, and Thor: The Dark World was generally considered by everybody to be the worst Marvel movie. So, and this was done how many years ago? So what is Marvel's excuse? How have they allowed?
That's what I'm saying, man. I can forgive Thor: The Dark World. I can forgive it because it was so long ago.
Yeah, same.
But even with inflation and all that, and the way the theatrical market changed post-pandemic, I mean, the results that the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I mean, who's excited about them anymore? Now we reluctantly go, oh, I'll go see it. Okay.
Dude, we've gotten to the point with MCU now where the bar is so low, we're just well, it wasn't completely horrible. And that's a good review. That's a good review. It wasn't completely horrible, right?
Yeah. Okay. Final thoughts on this, because I have some breaking news I want to get to. The Andor season 2 trailer dropped. The first look at Mattel's Masters of the Universe. We're going to get to that. Final thoughts on box office. Alan, I noticed you're doing something behind the scenes.
Yeah, I'm just.
I'll give my final thoughts.
Okay, final thoughts.
I honestly,
okay, Alan.
I know what you're asking. Listen.
I was gonna say I think the MCU is in trouble because I don't think at this point, I don't think the Fantastic Four is going to help all that much this year. I think it's too much of an unknown quantity. I think honestly the Thunderbolts might even have a little bit more steam than the Fantastic Four at this point because
no one has expectations.
No one has expectations of the Fantastic Four, man, and we have not had any great Fantastic Four movies. I don't care what anyone says; those Fox movies were fine, but those weren't definitive Fantastic Four movies. I'm sorry, they just weren't. So I don't know if America cares enough about the Fantastic Four. I don't know. I think even the Thunderbolts might be a better shot, but either way. Marvel's not breaking even this year, or Disney, I should say.
All right, let's go to this breaking news. First look at Mattel's Masters of the Universe. Could this be Barbie for men? Now, if you look at this image, it's sort of it's an image. I literally got emailed a press release that says sneak peek Nicholas Galitzine as He-Man with his iconic sword of power. I think, is this going to be a serious take?
Have you seen the other casting stuff and discussing film that they post? It looks good and like they're taking it seriously.
Yeah. It does. Allison Brie as Eva Lynn, Charlotte Riley as Queen Marlena, Morena Baccarin.
Yep, that's what got me.
As the sorceress,
Baccarin.
I don't know. They've got some good. There's some good cast.
Taking
here.
place on Earth is the risky one because you hate when they do that. And him forgetting who he is, but having to get the sword and go back to Eternia, and he's doing the workouts. He looks a little goofy, but by design,
I just hate the Earth angle so much.
Yeah.
I hate the Earth angle. That's the thing that'll kill it. But this image is encouraging.
He's posted selfies. He's buff. He looks like, I'm assuming they're going to do the Captain America thing where when he's just Adam, they make him look or dress him down or something. And so that when he turns into He-Man, he looks, buff and power of the universe or whatever. Grayskull.
I have to say, I was lucky. I had to film Travis Knight for a licensing convention, in Vegas, right before Bumblebee. He hadn't started directing Bumblebee yet. And I sat down with him and we got to talk for quite some time, just him and I. He was, he's Phil Knight, the founder of Nike's son. And he did Kubo and the Two Strings. He started Leica. So they did the all that stop motion stuff like the Crudes and all that. He's a very impressive guy. And the way I think his approach to Bumblebee and Kubo and the Two Strings show where his sensibilities lie. Like he can take something like the Transformers and turn it into something that has heart. I thought Bumblebee was quite a good film, and it was very different. He brought it had more of that 80s feel, that sort of Last Starfighter feel that we don't get anymore. I mean, as much as I will defend a few of Michael Bay's Transformers movies, but they're very glib. There isn't that sense of wonder to them. Whereas you need some kind of a childlike sense of joy inherent. And I think that he's going to kill this movie. I think it's going to. I was a little too old for the He-Man toys, even though I bought the first generation figures because I thought they were cool. I think he's going to kill this movie. I think this movie is going to be awesome. And I think the same way, I think it's going to be more like that Dungeons and Dragons movie with Chris Pine, which I really liked. It didn't do very well at the box office, but it's a delightful movie. And I think we're going to get something more somewhere between that and Lord of the Rings, somewhere.
Depends on how long they stay on Earth, but if they get out of there, go to Eternia, I have full faith that he'll be able to pull it off.
All right, let's take a look at Andor here. We've got the trailer, which just came out. Here we go. I have not seen this.
Oh, really?
I haven't. Has anyone else seen it?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to watch it for the first time. Alan, what about you?
I will be watching it for the first time as well.
Here we go. Okay. And
you should watch it without the sound on.
Why is that?
You'll see.
Well, I gotta hear it.
Is there modern day music in it in our Star Wars trailer instead of Star Wars music? Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, you might get struck, Chris, but
I will clip it out. That's why you watch live, so you can see it live. But we will clip it out.
I hope you're a Steve Earle and the Dukes fan. That's all.
Okay, here we go.
We're in a war. You want to fight? Or you want to win? Last night I dreamed that the world had turned around. All our hopes had come to be. The revolution starts now.
What a swell party this is.
It's like a fan trailer that puts music like this.
I love those visuals though.
Oh, it's incredible.
Oh no.
Remember this moment.
Bro, it's not even key jangling.
You're here. You're right here, and you're ready to fight.
I hope you like it, Robert. I hope you have a good experience.
I mean, stupid music aside, I'm looking forward to it.
I don't know. I think it looks pretty fun. I think it looks pretty fun. I mean, a lot of action. I gotta say, the only one shot, there were a bunch of dancing women in a room that like raised their hand. Did you see that one?
Because
shot?
they're at an executive party. But
Yeah.
the really interesting thing about Andor is how they're releasing it.
How?
Okay, they're releasing 3 episodes a week for 4 weeks, and apparently each week is a different
jump.
year.
Yeah.
So there were April 22nd, you get episodes 1 to 3. April 29th, you get 4, 5, and 6. May 6th, you get 7, 8, and 9. And May 13th, you get 10 through 12. So they're dropping essentially a feature film for 4 weeks in a row.
That's very interesting. I wonder, I mean, is this an awareness that the Star Wars brand is tainted and this could save it? I mean, like, look, of all the things, Disney Star Wars, let's be fair. The one thing that's mostly universally praised is Andor season 1 and the
Acolyte.
The Acolyte.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. No, I'm just saying that this is the thing they got close. I thought Andor season 1 was a bit boring. And the problem is Andor is the least interesting character.
Diego Luna, he's just not a leading man. IMO.
He's not a leading man.
But he's not necessarily the leading man in it. I mean, the thing I liked about Andor, it had something to say. It had this world to explore, the politics of the Empire.
I know, but it all leads to Andor, and it all leads to Jake Skywalker,
but at least that's something that none of the other Star Wars shows gave us.
Yeah,
it gave us something to think about. How a rebellion is formed, how it's brought together. That's the first season. This. And I'm excited about season 2 because I'm pretty sure they're going to continue that. And you got Tony Gilroy, and I think
got to go up to the movie, right?
Yeah, they talked a lot about getting feedback from the first season and then applying that feedback to the second season, so that they're learning at least, and hopefully this will be better than season 1.
Well, I'll just say this: that Rogue Squadron is, for the most part, I don't think this is controversial, is the most liked thing that Disney produced.
Rogue
for
One.
Star Wars. Rogue One.
I was like the Patty Jenkins movie. What are we talking?
Yeah, I'm like, did that happen?
Yeah, I want to see that movie. No, yes.
Great video game.
But mostly people enjoyed that. Am I wrong in assuming that?
Well, you know what? I think
Vader
that
at the end.
I was talking to somebody about this this morning. If you watch Star Wars and Empire, what do you notice about those films? The main characters are human, and there is no Jedi. Luke is becoming a Jedi, but he's not a Jedi yet. And the problem with a monastic religious order like the Jedi is they're effing boring.
Yeah.
And the whole thing about Star Wars is the original Star Wars, and let's face it, you have to go back to the original Star Wars as a template for the whole universe. The Jedi were gone. They lost. And so you have people that are living in the remnants of this society with a failed order. And the fact that they flip it and they try and make the Jedi heroes, when the Jedi, it's such a weird. They're inherently boring characters. What you want are these people that are out in the fringes of society, the way Luke and Han and Ben Kenobi are. Ben Kenobi was a Jedi, but he's a fallen Jedi.
I find your lack of faith
fallen.
disturbing, Robert, and I would force choke you right now.
But the thing is, look, Star Wars and Empire defined what Star Wars was, and after that, it's all gone off the rails. And Andor was the closest thing to bring it back to the spirit of what the series was when it began.
Yeah,
wait, quick breaking news from the Babylon Bee. Oh no, Admiral Piet gets email from Lord Vader asking what he accomplished this week.
Uh-oh, Doge in space.
He's getting the Empire's getting the Doge treatment. Anyway, sorry, Dante, interrupted you.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, look, I agree with Rob to some degree. I will give a lot of credit to the Clone Wars series. I think they really helped the prequels age way better than they would have if Clone Wars didn't exist. But for the most part, Rob, you're right. The essence of Star Wars are those two movies, A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. I think Rogue One for me, and this is crazy to say, I think it might be my third favorite Star Wars film. I felt like it was a direct prequel to A New Hope. And I felt like maybe because of the lack of Jedi, it felt a lot more authentic for me. Because I just feel like everything now that's Star Wars, if there's not like a dozen Jedi in it, people don't want to watch it, right?
What's your favorite part of Rogue One, Dante?
Huh?
What's your favorite part of Rogue One, Dante?
Everyone dies.
Well, no, I mean, honestly, here's the thing. I don't have an exact favorite part. I mean, yeah, of course, I love the Vader scene. I do.
Okay.
I do, like everyone else.
But
But
that's what most people's.
what I
movie.
like about it is, is seeing this story that we've heard about in A New Hope kind of being played out, in Rogue One, how they got this information about the Death Star, and all of that was really intriguing for me. So I just think overall, but yeah, of course, everyone loves the Vader scene, right? And maybe that was thrown in the last minute. I don't know. But at the end of the day, you can't deny Rogue One was not a good movie.
Raging Rhino is in the chat. Rhino, would you ever want to be on Versus? Where have you been?
Yeah,
DM me.
Rhino should hop on, man.
Rhino, we can get you on Versus. Come on. But I mean, look, for the most part, normies think Rogue One is very good. It's not my favorite. But in terms of what Disney has done, for the most part, people like it. Now, in a related story, I have to share something here. There's been speculation about when Kathleen Kennedy would retire.
What's going on to hit, right, Chris?
And
we're gonna play this game, huh?
When she has a win, was the word was when it feels like she has a win.
Yeah.
Is she getting ready to retire? The American Society of Cinematographers is giving Kathleen Kennedy, an industry force. The ASC honors the renowned filmmaker with its Board of Governors Awards. Now, when you begin to get awards like this, like Lifetime Achievement, the Board of Governors Award, the Vanguard Award.
Because they're trying to get her out of there. They're giving her every award they can. So
is she going to sign with CAA?
These are bullshit awards given. I'm not saying it's not earned. They're bullshit to get her to show up to an award show. So she accepts the award. Look, I know what bullshit award shows are. I put on an award show. Right, Alan?
Yes, but it ain't bullshit.
It ain't bullshit. Look, I'm just saying, now that she's starting to get these awards, is she ready? What do you guys think?
She will retire when our sun begins to die.
Yeah.
That's
heat
when
death
Kathleen
of the
Kennedy
universe will happen first, yes.
When our sun begins to dim, she will retire.
All right.
But you know what I wanted to say about this trailer, because I did want to say something about the music. I think that one of the things about Star Wars is it does not take place, nor does it have any connection to our world.
Yes.
And when you make a trailer for a Star Wars project, and look, I like Steve Earle, but when you put a terrestrial song over Star, and I know it's appealing to us as the audience, what you're doing is you're diminishing the imagination of the universe. What you've done is you've taken the long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and you're now going, not really. It's really about us right now. And you have so much interesting music that they could draw upon. That's actual Star Wars music that would work far better in a trailer like this, because the visuals are pretty spectacular. Not a lot of the volume stages. Again, like the first Andor, they're shooting this in Europe. They're on real locations. I mean, I love seeing stormtroopers in a wheat field, a real wheat field.
Do something that sounds more alien. Like in Fallen Order, they use Mongolian throat singing.
Yes,
and
something that would have been much better. Something absolutely 100%. And when you watch this, it kind of turns it into, it diminishes the imagination that's put into it. And the thought process that somebody at Disney said, we're going to take these great visuals. And I said, we were talking about this earlier this morning. All the fans, I think they should all put their own, if you could put music, if you could score this trailer, what would you score it with? Somebody said NWA's F the Police, which would actually be kind of funny, the Empire being the police. But it diminishes everything. And the fact that these marketing departments do stuff like this, it proves they don't know what the F they're doing. And it's maddening in the extreme.
Yeah, I agree. My thing is, it was a terrible choice of music. Terrible choice. But the visuals, man, and that's something I love.
It looks incredible. It looks incredible. It looks like a Star Wars movie.
About the first season of Andor, man, it's like I still remember watching them make two TIE fighters the most menacing things on screen. Yep. Like I've never seen TIE fighters look menacing until Andor, where you were literally afraid for people because of two TIE fighters.
Yeah. And seeing them fly in the distance when you're in an actual location, a forest location with fields and trees and mountains, and seeing a TIE fighter fly,
of it, right?
Man, that was it. Like you said, it was terrifying. And everyone's like, oh, because you have a talented Academy Award nominated filmmaker who's the showrunner, who's both a writer and a director, who can sit in an edit bay and knows and sets up a shot and knows what's epic and knows what's cinematic.
Look, and I get why people say that, like, some people didn't like it. I know Star Wars Theory it's not one of his favorites.
Nope.
But God, this sounds kind of insulting. But in a weird way, it is kind of Star Wars for grown-ups. Like because if you're not into like political thrillers and things like that, then Andor probably isn't for you, because it does get more into the politics of the Empire, the politics of what's going on in the galaxy at the time.
It's unbalanced.
For me, I find very interesting, but I can see why. If you're just used to lightsaber fights, you wouldn't be used to it.
Well, it's missing Star Wars balances the fantasy and the politics in a really fun way. I don't know if Andor is fun.
Right. Exactly.
Right. No, I wouldn't call it fun.
The first season was not fun.
I loved it, but it wasn't fun.
It was Les Miserables. It's Les Miserables, the play. If you've ever seen that play, is not fun. Okay. I've seen it several times. It's a great play. It's a musical, and Alan loves musicals.
I love musicals.
But
it's my favorite.
It's one of the best stage plays. It's not fun, and they kind of modeled season 1 of Andor off of that. I don't like. Totally. Look, I think that music is completely out of place. Something else would have been better. You could re-edit that trailer with different music. You mentioned like the monks. Just something different. It's like putting rap music in a Gladiator movie.
Why didn't they just use the Imperial March? Put the Imperial March in that trailer.
Yes,
I mean,
it would have been great
because they're on the march.
Yeah.
By the way, I still want a modern Mothma, if you know what I'm saying.
It's the same reason at the end they wanted to say "fuck the Empire" instead of "criff the Empire." Like they don't want to use the already there terminology. They want to put outside modern stuff, and it just doesn't translate as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we shall see on Kathleen Kennedy what's going to happen there, but we need to get to soups and then our main topic, James Bond, and I have related topics. So let's do soups right now. There's a bunch piled up.
The Raven and the Writing Desk became a YouTube member. Shout out, Raven.
Thank you.
Pharaoh Vibes for $9.99. Hey guys, did you watch the new Star Wars Andor trailer for season 2? We did. Overall looks good, but they used modern day music instead of the iconic library of music Star Wars is known for the world over. They love to take L's. Yes.
Does anyone have anything to say about that?
Stubble McShave for 20 Swedish krona. Except for the music choice, I liked the Andor trailer.
I would agree with that. Bad
Gene
music
Hughes,
choice.
gifted 5 Film Threat memberships. Shout out.
Okay. Is someone on the phone? I'm hearing a weird sound. Is it me?
I do hear that ever so slightly in the background.
I don't know who that is.
I don't know who it is.
Graph Web for 2. In the name of all that is holy, hashtag cancel Disney Plus. Okay, yes, must cancel it. Lord Comet for 5. Happy birthday, RMB. Mine is coming up on the 7th of March. And in my opinion, he looks so happy about that joke. And in my opinion, they could have saved money by not making those movies at all. That's just me. Rawr.
Wait, where's that sound coming from?
I don't know. Everyone hit mute.
It's like someone's on hold for something.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
David Smart, member for 11 months. I hope Fantastic Four and the rest flop. I'm so done.
We shall see.
David Smart for 5. I think He-Man is going to be trash because it's going to be modern and it's going to be mainly on Earth. If I was the director, I would go all fantasy.
You know what, though? At least they hire some hot chicks.
Yeah, and I don't know if we know it's, by all accounts, it's not mainly on Earth.
No.
It's like at least 50-50, but I'd wager more 60-40 on Earth Eternia.
But why would the first movie need to be on Earth? Why not just tell a good story?
Correct. It should just be all. But I mean, he made it seem like what we're getting is, give a little faith for it.
The 80s version, you mean? The Dolph Lundgren version?
That is definitely mostly on Earth, yeah. Bass player 2011 should be bass player. Yeah, for $4.99, 3 hours of content per week will get Disney Plus watch time up.
Yeah.
Torgo the White member for 12 months. We get this instead of Kyle Katarn. Cancel Disney Plus. Yes. Gundam Warrior for $4.99. Kennedy will just take the substance and still annoy us all. Base player 2011, $4.99. Not as bad as the Come Together. Oh yeah, Come Together Justice League trailer.
Right. That was not good. Thank you for all your super chats and your comments. We appreciate you. We've got over 2,300 people watching, and real quick, for those showing up late, we have a big announcement. The Film Threat Oscar watch party is Sunday, March 2nd, and I have a little video promo.
Hey everyone, Chris Gore here, and I am at the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences Museum, and this is your friendly reminder to watch the Film Threat Oscar watch party on Sunday, March 2nd. Alan Ng will be there, as from Heel vs. Babyface, Verbal Riot Show Dante James, and of course Gary from the Nerdrotic is Toxic channel. So join us as we watch the Oscars together, kind of suffer through it. You need us. And I have one Oscar prediction that comes true every year, and that prediction is it will be boring. Unless you watch us, then it'll be a lot of fun.
Are we taking any bets on how many political speeches we're going to get during the Oscars?
I have so
we should
much.
have a poll, right?
I've got so much data and fun stuff, but let's get to our main topic that's on the thumbnail. I guess I should say, is the James Bond franchise dead now that Amazon is more deeply involved? And one of the things that we've heard, there's a lot of stories about this. I'll bring up one of them, but the main thing is the thing that made James Bond special. It was not always around. There were movies maybe every 4 years. Rob, you probably know better than I. 3-4 years. I mean, it wasn't.
Well, it used to be 2.
Yeah, it was like the James Bond films, and they would even take a break when they would recast James Bond, like it'd go away for a couple of years. There's a big deal about who is the next James Bond. James Bond has always been a special franchise. It's one of the longest running, if not
63 years.
Yes.
Oh,
longest
well, up until
franchise. Now. I mean, as a film franchise, it is the longest running. mean, I can't think what else comes close.
Well, the longest running, especially, I mean, there's been other films that have been made from characters, but the only single, it started. Dr. No was released in 1962.
Yeah, so look at that rich history. So that made it special. You'd get a couple years between each movie and a break between each recast of James Bond, and James Bond went through eras.
But only 2 years, Chris.
Yeah.
When Sean Connery's last official Bond movie was 71's Diamonds Are Forever, and Roger Moore took over in 73 with Live and Let Die. And in 74, Man with the Golden Gun came out, and then in 77, Spy Who Loved Me came out. And up until 1989, 3 years was the longest there was ever a break from 1962 to 1989.
Robert,
But
I used to have a
always
box set.
James Bond always felt like an event because it wasn't always around as quote content. What has been said in a lot of the things that have leaked is that we're going to get a lot of James Bond content, maybe spin-offs, a game show. Will they do some streaming series about M?
No, Money Penny.
Or a show about the people that make the gadgets. What is going to happen? What is your take on it? We can get into a little of this story here, but I have concerns.
I haven't seen a James Bond movie since Skyfall, so I'm just not a big fan of Daniel Craig. I still say justice for Timothy Dalton. We should have got way more Timothy Dalton Bond movies.
There was going to be, but there was a legal problem with Kevin McClory and MGM, which the franchise was gone for 6 years.
Badger, if you would read these first couple paragraphs so we have the context, and then we'll get into it.
Amazon MGM Studios' Michael G. Wilson and Barbara Broccoli have formed a new joint venture to house the James Bond IP rights, under which Wilson and Broccoli will cede creative control to the franchise to Amazon. All three parties will remain co-owners of the long-running series, but this marks one of the biggest creative shifts in James Bond's history. Terms of the transaction were not disclosed on Thursday, even though we heard that it's $1 billion they got paid off. The franchise has been in the hands of creative individuals since Albert R. Broccoli and Harry Saltzman purchased the rights to Ian Fleming's novels in 1961. After Broccoli died, his daughter Barbara took over alongside his stepson Michael G. Wilson.
Read these two paragraphs and we'll stop there.
My life has been dedicated to maintaining and building upon the extraordinary legacy that was handed to Michael and me by our father, producer Cubby Broccoli, Barbara said in a statement. I have had the honor of working closely with 4 of the tremendously talented actors who have played 007 and thousands of wonderful artists within the industry. With the conclusion of No Time to Die and Michael retiring from films, I feel it is time to focus on my other projects. Now that's Barbara. Notice she didn't say anything about Amazon in that statement. And here's Wilson. With 007, with my 007 career spanning nearly 60 incredible years, I am stepping back from producing the James Bond films to focus on art and charitable projects. Therefore, Barbara and I agree it is time for our trusted partner, Amazon MGM Studios, to lead James Bond into the future, Wilson added. And,
well, that's kind of all you need to know about this. Where does this? I'm first of all, we've seen what happens when corporations take over IP. We've seen what has been done to Star Wars. I can only think of Vito Corleone looking over Sonny's dead body. Look what they did to my boy. That's what I think about when I think about Star Wars in Disney. What's going to happen to James Bond? Because
they got this in 2022. They paid $8 billion for this. And on top, but Barbara has been fighting them for doing the dumb shit like the Moneypenny series and all the other things. And she just got paid $1 billion to go away. They can do whatever they want now.
Essentially, I want to hear everyone. I want everyone to chime in on this.
Honestly, man, I think, and this is I don't know if it's a hot take or not, but I just don't think we need James Bond anymore, if we're being honest. And the reason why I say that is because we're never going to get hear me out. We're never going to get the Bond that we all love, right? The one we grew up with. We're not going to get the smoking, drinking, womanizing. We're not going to ever get that kind of Bond again. So why even do Bond at all, right? We're living in a different era. They're not going to give us a masculine Bond. They're going to give us a sensitive, a guy who's in touch with his feminine side. They're going to give us all this garbage, you know, and he only kills when he really, really has to, right? That kind of thing. We're never going to get Bond again. Though that era of man, the studios won't touch that anymore.
I think that the only way you could do Bond now is make it a period piece. Make it like
Cold War, basically post World
like
War II.
what's that French series?
But it started
French
as a
series. Rob, you know what I'm talking about? What is that?
OSS.
OSS. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
box set
French.
right over there.
Yeah, it's a French series that is like a really sexist, womanizing. It's great though because it's of the era. It is a period film, but
Chris, you know that they don't want to do that. They want to do current era Bond. But what I'm saying is we're not going to get. Actually, we are going to get current era Bond. That's the problem.
Yeah,
We're going to get modern day Bond.
That was the problem with the whole Daniel Craig run. Other than Casino Royale, they wanted. But Chris, you know, and I got to agree with Verbal. I mean, if you think about it, as M said in 1995's GoldenEye, that James Bond is a sexist, misogynist dinosaur, a relic of the Cold War.
Yep.
Which is exactly, I mean, James Bond was written in the 50s by Ian Fleming, you know, who fought in World War II, as sort of this fantasy figure and became beloved by middle-class men who had settled down with families after coming back from the war. John F. Kennedy, for instance, loved James Bond. And in the 1960s, provided that fantasy figure that men who had now settled down to raise families dreamt of being. Most people didn't fly intercontinental back then, and James Bond was globe hopping. The man was one day away from losing his life, so he knew everything about the
banging hot chicks left and right.
Yeah, he drank champagne at the perfect temperature. He knew where beluga caviar came from and what region. He slept with the most beautiful women in the world unapologetically, and if one was able to save him from being protected by getting smacked in the face, he would throw that woman, for better or for worse, to take the blow for him. I mean, he knew he was going to die, so he had a license to kill. That world is gone. And if you look at the Bond I'm sorry, I'm a huge James Bond fan from a little kid. I've read way too many books about this movie series. But if you look at the Bond films in the 60s, they set a trend and a tone. No one had ever seen movies like this before. There were so many Bond pretenders to the throne. There was everything from Dean Martin and Matt Helm to the OSS movies to James Coburn and the Our Man Flint series. James Bond was the movie franchise in the 60s. But by the 70s, Bond was tired. And then you had Bond chasing trends. He made a blaxploitation movie in Live and Let Die. He made a martial arts movie where he went to the Orient and Man with the Golden Gun, even though he'd been there for You Only Live Twice. And then he went all fantasy with Spy Who Loved Me. And then because of Star Wars, he went into space because of Moonraker. Then they tried
to defend that movie.
He's attempting re-entry.
I love Moonraker. I don't care what
I love Moonraker too.
And then they tried to pull back, and Bond has always been playing catch up. Quantum of Solace, they re-edited that movie so it was like a Bourne movie, even though it wasn't shot that way, so it didn't work. And then they had to deal with the writer's strike. The Bond franchise is played out. It's played out. You can't, you know, the emo Bond with the Craig era, they tried to make it like a multiverse and have everybody. If Blofeld was pulling the strings, they tried to retcon all that BS. Casino Royale is a great Bond film. Goes back and tells his origin story. It's a prequel, really effective. But by the time you get to Skyfall, which is a $1 billion movie, that's a movie literally where James Bond fails the entire movie. He fails, and at the end, it turns into Home Alone, and M dies under Bond's watch. His boss gets killed because he is ineffectual.
Let me push back a second on what you've just said. I think you can do it, but you have to be bold. You could do a period James Bond, set it in the 1960s during the Cold War. And let me
have 6 Bond movies already set in the 60s during the Cold War.
But wait, let me get this out. If you brought in, say, a Christopher Nolan, or even, dare I say, be a weird choice, but Robert Eggers. Robert Eggers, if you know anything about him as a filmmaker, he is really meticulous when it comes to language. Like the way people speak in The Witch is the way people spoke of the time. He does exhaustive research to make sure the way people act is of the era. If you were to make, when people think of period pieces,
They think of Bridgerton, which is bullshit. They think of things like the costumes and the settings. But what about the attitudes? Can you reflect the real attitudes of the era in a period piece and make that okay to look at, like, look, we don't think that way now, but this is how Bond treated women back then.
But we have that though in Dr. No, From Russia with Love, Goldfinger, Thunderball, You Only Live Twice, and Our Majesty's Secret Service. They were
but
all
Robert,
period
you know,
pieces.
they have to
Guy
keep
Ritchie
making
would be
shit.
good too. I just think give it a shot. I think you can't do Timothy Chalamet Bond.
But
You
you know that's
can't
what they're
do
going
that.
to do. You know they're going to do it.
They're already
We're gonna
doing
get a
it.
twink.
Rami.
Bond is going to be a twink.
Anyways, sorry.
Chris, the problem with the Bond franchise is the world has changed. You know, before you could have one man who was a megalomaniac, or you could have Spectre or Smersh. Smersh was the Russian bad guys. So you had these things. Now, who are the villains in our world? Everything is asymmetric. You've got asymmetric terrorists. Would you send Bond to the Middle East? Who wants to go there? You want to see Bond like at the highest levels of society, wearing tuxedos and killing bad guys and making love to the most beautiful women. How do you do that in a world where kids don't even have sex anymore?
You don't.
How
That's
do
why
you
we're
make
saying
Bond-
Cold
Well-
War films?
Well, look, all I'm saying is I still think the movies perform well at the box office.
They do.
It's a beloved brand, and I don't think making it modern will help. In fact, let's talk about this. Will we see in modern Bond a trans Bond girl? Will
There's
we
already
ever-
been
You're asking,
there's
Will.
already been one in the franchise.
Yes, there has, and here it
seriously.
is. Why is there what the? I had it all queued up. So
Irvine, nice place.
like
They did
okay.
cast a trans actress in a
Yes,
Bond
I
movie.
had it. I got to.
By the way, a long time ago.
Yes, I know. Why did I do that? Here it is. I have it. So this was a long time ago. A trans Bond girl has already existed. Here we are. Tula, the
Yep.
transsexual Bond girl, the urban legend of Tula.
Okay, but you guys have to understand, like, she wasn't playing a trans Bond girl. She was just like a trans actress who played a Bond girl. No, what we're going to get is a trans Bond girl where he's going to know she's trans and he's going to make that
importantly-
brave leap.
Like
to-
someone who's got a batwanger. Is that what you're saying?
He's gonna take one.
He's
for
going
the
to make that
team.
brave leap to sleep with a trans girl and make sure that everyone knows that he is down.
But
for
now
trans.
what I'm saying is they'll go full trans Bond girl. Like,
Oh, yeah,
they'll
she'll
go
have a
full
song.
trans.
She was only an extra in
She'll be a
For Your Eyes
troon.
Only.
Well, there you go. But I guess that breaks precedent, right? I'm saying, what do you think they'll go full on woke James Bond and just see? I actually think if they did that, it would be unintentionally hilarious.
By the way,
If
she's
they
also
went-
the first trans woman to actually pose for Playboy in 1991.
And I assume you have the issue, Rob.
I
I'm
do
gonna
not.
just-
I probably jerked off to it though.
there you go. I do
No
get
shame.
I do get when sort of a nerd crossover in Playboy. I have those issues.
If they're passing, it counts as California straight, not gay. I've heard that.
There you go. Anyways, I'm
The
just
rule.
saying.
Is that a real term? California straight?
Oh, California
course it
straight is
is.
the term. That's
Oh my
but-
God, where have I been living?
Sometimes you
I'm
strike
downtown
out.
LA. How have I never heard of this?
When I say California straight, I actually am just referring to the fact that I'm completely unfazed by gay humor or gay people or trans people. I'm very well they exist. Where some of the people I stream with in the middle of the country, gay people, and they flip out, and it's very funny. So
Hey man, I've
California
got an
straight.
issue of Transgender Quarterly that has Dax from Star Trek Deep Space Nine on the cover. I
Oh.
shamelessly bought it off the newsstand.
There you go. So
That's
but
true, by the way.
with this, change with the IP and Amazon's more direct involvement, what does that mean for the future of the
Chris,
franchise?
Chris,
People
are you
are
asking,
already
Are you asking? Are they going to Rings of Power James Bond?
yes.
Yeah.
Will they Rings of Power James Bond? And Alan, please weigh in.
Oh gosh,
Did you see Jeff Bezos ask?
I know. I mean, at least Jeff Bezos has the entire Bond gallery. There's no restrictions, so he can tell a proper Bond story. The question is, will he do it? And I don't know how much money they're going to put into it. And again, how much wokeness are they going to do? And there's a good possibility it won't be. Maybe he will tell a straight up proper Bond story.
Straight up.
Straight up.
No pun.
The thing is, Bond as a theatrical franchise is still bankable. I mean, Skyfall was the first $1 billion Bond. Both Spectre and No Time to Die, even though they weren't the greatest movies in the world, still made a lot of money at the box office. And I think what you need, again, you need a great writer and you need a great director and you need a vision for this franchise. The problem is, as we've seen with so many of these corporations that buy these things, corporations aren't storytellers. So the real question is, like, for instance, if they made a Bond movie, would they keep the structure the same? Would you get your pre-title sequence? Would you get your Daniel Kleinman directed opening credits? Would you get the gun barrel? Would you get the theme song?
Or would it be Bond a name only?
Well, that's the thing. And remember, Bond is a literary character, and those books they haven't been always well adapted, but it's like with Professor Tolkien, you have people that come in and go, we're going to change this. We need a strong female character, so we're going to literally change Galadriel, or we're going to put Gandalf where he never existed, according to Professor Tolkien, and no one seems to have a problem with that. And then you diminish your franchise, you just chip away at it, and the essence of the reason you bought it in the first place is taken away because you didn't pay much attention. Or
for a while, weren't they trying to say that James Bond was a mantle?
People have said that,
right?
Like
they're trying to say
it's
a
code
name, mantle, not his actual name. Right?
But that's just something fans. That was a fan theory to explain the continuity.
Because they used the same M actress. It was like, James Bond is a name. They're just giving it.
Yeah, I mean, the Bond franchise has been always fast. How many Felix Leiters have there been?
Exactly. It was just being cute with the continuity. But James Bond is James Bond.
Yeah.
007 is something you could argue about. But even that, I would say, no. James Bond is 007.
Yeah. Here's the other thing. Like, if you put James Bond in the modern world, I've always felt like James Bond was kind of a satire of modern global politics. And I feel like, with the way global politics go on today, can you really satirize it? Is reality too out there for even James Bond?
That's what I'm saying. I don't think we live in a time where we need a James Bond anymore, man. Like, because we're never going to get the one that we want. We're never going to get the one that we grew up with. So maybe it's time to retire that character. But you know what, though? They just spent how much? 8 million or 80 million?
8 billion buying it the first
time,
and then another
billion. They're not going to let this go.
Time.
They're going to make their Bond movies and TV shows and all that stuff.
But they bought MGM for that 8 billion.
Yeah, to be fair, yes. It's the whole,
but also, we don't even have people in this country that like America.
Right.
And the thing about James Bond was James Bond's character. I mean, he worked for MI6. He worked for the Queen and country. And nowadays you have people today that the idea everybody wants to deconstruct the societies that they grew up in, talking about how terrible the West is. I mean, I think one of the great things that Bond could be used for is to promote the values of Western civilization. That's what Bond was.
But they'll never do that, Rob. They'll never do that.
I know, but if they could, because that would be
the great evil, especially now that Trump's in office, right? Or they'll have Bond fighting Trump.
Yeah.
By the way, joining us late is Script Doctor. Script, thanks for dropping in. What are your thoughts on the James Bond franchise and its future?
Oh man, with Amazon at the reins, it's dicey there, because unlike shows, say for instance, The Terminal List or Reacher, Skydance is kind of involved with that to kind of protect it, to be a bit more closer to what they're trying to get at with that show. I don't know if those protections exist for Bond with Barbara Broccoli, considering the fact that the Daniel Craig's movies, with few exceptions of like Casino Royale, and I know Robert loves is an apologist for another
Quantum of
Solace. Sorry,
which by the way is not great.
No,
I'm just an apologist for it.
But it does have a great opening theme. But yeah, it's just I don't know at this point. Because Jennifer Salke is not a very insightful executive when it comes to Amazon Studios show. She is the one that acts the Ryan Condal Conan series, and Ryan Condal ended up going up to Warner Brothers, and he did the new Game of Thrones House of the Dragon series, which has done great for Warner Brothers and Max. And so she missed that opportunity, and she has not really backed down from that. In addition, she's also one of the ones that is very much promoting the Rings of Power, which I mean, I understand the restrictions that team has when it comes to what they can do, but the quality just isn't there. They're not doing anything with it. And I'm very concerned that that pattern will be repeated with James Bond because he is such an iconic character. And to Robert's point, to everyone else who's probably listening, James Bond is the type of guy who he's an agent of the government on behalf of the government's interests with regards to the crown. Like sometimes he'll be put on a mission which he'll probably go on, like you could speculate he'd go after a bad guy who you think is doing really well for the rest of the world. But the British government is like, nope, he's a threat to our interests, so we are sending someone like Bond out to kill him. In fact, if you're to do it modern day, you would probably have someone like an Elon Musk who is trying to do a Doge thing in the British government, and the British government would send someone like James Bond to get rid of him because they don't want all that money exposed and that corruption revealed, because that's against the interest of, you know, the crown and the British government. So that would be something that could be explored on the moral side of things, but it wouldn't be a deconstruction of the character because that is what the character's tasked to do. He fights for king and country, regardless of what those interests are.
Well, I think it's telling that the last James Bond movie, something happened that never happened before. He died. He died at the end. Sorry, spoilers if you have not seen it. But I thought it was kind of bold. At the time, I thought, you know, I never thought he was in peril. So they've done it one time. But it's very telling that that's how they end it, because the death of Bond on screen is really the death of this franchise. Final thoughts from people. We have a lot of soups to get to.
All right. So this is an Amazon Studios production now. Guess where you won't be able to see James Bond movie from now on?
Where?
A movie theater.
Well, they have a European or a international theatrical push in their future. And the thing is, the James Bond franchise has always done better internationally than it's done domestically by a wide margin. So I think they want this Bond franchise to lead their theatrical initiative in Europe.
Okay. Yeah, because they haven't really put a movie out theatrically since the pandemic.
The real question is, who do you get to make a Bond film? Obviously, I would say Jonathan Nolan, who did Fallout for Amazon, is Christopher Nolan's brother. He might be a good showrunner or something to take over. But, you know, Christopher Nolan's not going to come. Inception and Tenet are his Bond movies.
Yep.
Would he come back to the franchise and not? All these directors that have carved out their own niche, why would they cede power to someone else to work on their franchises when they don't have to?
I think earlier in Nolan's career, he might have done it, right? But I think he's on another level. They could not get him.
No, and why would he want to when he has the power now to make what? I mean, they didn't. He convinced Warner Brothers to make Dunkirk. Cut to it makes $500 million.
Mm-hmm.
That's an amazing feat.
Well, I'm just saying, you know, get ready for the Bond cinematic universe. We are going to get spin-off shows, or they're going to do the whole Disney Plus thing. I just, you know, look, man, I don't have an emotional attachment to James Bond. I loved all the films. I've seen all of them up until Skyfall, but and even Skyfall I gave a little grace to because I do like Sam Mendes, but
it's really well made.
Yeah, it's well made. It's well that last hour though, that third anyway, that third act was rough. Look, I don't have a dog in this fight, but I will say that I think it'd be more merciful just to kind of let this dog die than to drag it on and make it even worse. Because I'm telling you right now, they're going to cast a twink. They're going to make Bond very feminine and sensitive, and it's not going to be Bond anyway. So what's the point?
Well, you know who that's going to be. It's Pedro Pascal.
Of course. He's the only logical choice for James Bond.
Or Diego Luna if they can't get him.
British accent will be great.
And you know what? He'll keep the mustache.
Well, anyways, we'll get to soups in a second. I want to share something that many of you are probably not aware of. This is from Amazon. Amazon is doing a series, which I didn't think this was real. I thought it was South Park thing. It's an animated series called Number One Happy Family USA. It premieres on Amazon. It's about a Muslim family. It's It's Rami Youssef is involved in this project. It's about a Muslim family in America and their adventures. I'm just
Sounds like
saying,
it should be coming out in 2001, not 2025.
yeah, it's a little. Now this is from what is Animation World Network, revealed some more images from it. It's coming out starring, co-created and starring Rami Youssef. Streams April 17th. It's here we're at I don't know who the characters are. It's Hussein's halal cards. And my guess is it's about a Muslim family in America.
Then why does it have a title that sounds like it's a Japanese?
I was gonna say, why
I
do you
know.
have the time?
It sounds like a
Japanese
Power.
thing. Anyways,
Happy family.
I'm saying this is something Amazon is doing. Amazon now has James Bond. I don't know what this is. We have not seen a trailer as yet, but I thought this was a South Park. It doesn't make sense, but
The only thing with
Anyways.
James Bond is Jeff Bezos literally asked people, who would you like to see as James Bond, as opposed to just throwing it to the Jennifer Salke and saying, have fun with it. The only reason there might be a little bit of hope is that he even asked that question, a la Elon Musk, of asking people, hey, what do you want? This or that?
let's go to soups here. We got a bunch, and then we have a couple more topics.
Pilgrim Media for 2. Do you think anyone will make a scene at the Oscars?
100%. There will be uncomfortable moments. There are, having seen the SAG Awards, no one saw the SAG Awards because it was on Netflix Live, except for me. I watched it. Get ready for political speeches. People on the red carpet have said the dumbest things. Like, so all I can say is the most stupid things you will hear at the Oscars will come from the actors. And if the SAG Awards was a preview, this Oscars will be crazy. We'll be doing an Oscar preview special on Friday, Alan and I, along with our Friday film reviews. But yeah, get ready, Pilgrim.
Lord Comment for 2. Make Chris Gore James Bond. That's my vote. Thought?
CG, I think, computer graphics.
Make CG James
Oh, no, I
Bond.
think Chris Gore should be James Bond. That's my
All
vote.
right. Thanks, Lord Comment.
Stubble McShave for 50. Always found it funny that they recast Sean Connery with Roger Moore, who was 3 years older than Sean. Sean Connery's my James Bond.
The difference between those two was the tone. Roger Moore was frankly leaned into the comedy aspect. It was always humor.
He was the saint.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was all James Bond has humor in all the movies, but Roger Moore really made it. I feel like he's the Adam West of Bonds.
He said he embraced
I don't
it.
mean
There's a
that as an
documentary.
insult. I don't mean that as an insult.
But he was also the James Bond of our youth at that time. I mean,
Yeah,
ran for
but I like
15
Sean
years,
Connery. He's my favorite. You know,
I mean, they even went back with Live and Let Die, Man with a Golden Gun. They were no longer shooting in widescreen with those films until in Spy Love Me, they reinstated widescreen photography, which was really weird because with Thunderball on, they went to Panavision, and then they made them flat again with Live and Let Die and Man with a Golden Gun. I know no one probably cares, but it was something I always thought was interesting.
By the way, Roger Moore said that Sean Connery was his favorite James Bond. Derek Anderson, the DA for 20. Sorry I missed out today. Spectrum Internet sucks. Bond is dead. Marvel is slowly dying. Andor trailer was fantastic, minus the music. Shout out to the chat. See you at the Oscars watch party.
thank you, Derek. Appreciate it. Hey, it's very generous. You don't have to do that, but also it's like that's the Chat GPT synopsis of this episode of Versus. So it's very good. Thank you, DA.
Charles Harrison for 199. Shout out to the 199. Thomas Logan for 5. Cynthia Erivo's casting as James Bond 007 will atone for the horrors of Cubby Broccoli's misogynist agenda. Elliot Page as Auric Goldfinger equals justice. Yes, we're getting short round. Sure. Janowski for 199. No One Lives Forever equals best Bond style game. Base player 2011, 499, for 5. Bring in David Milch and have him work his dead wood magic. If you want a period piece, I can't think of anyone better. Dean from Australia for 5. Take off. Yeah, take off. Let's nuke Amazon from orbit. It's the only way to be sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think the thing I'm concerned about is milking the franchise with, an M series or whatever. It just like,
But
I think that'll be awful.
There
Look what he did to Star Wars.
are potentials there though. If you think about like, I've been saying this for years. You could make a Spectre series, Blofeld heads up Spectre. You could take Spectre all the way back into the 1800s or even further. And the Spectre stands for the Special Executive for Counterintelligence, Terrorism, Revenge, and Extortion. And they're a global criminal enterprise that ends up being run by Goldfinger that we see in the early Bond films as his foil. It would be really interesting. What if there is this global, like the Hellfire Club and the X-Men?
Mhm.
You have a group of criminals that are a multinational group of criminals that have been working in the shadows and detail their history. That could be a cool thing. But and someone like Tony Gilroy could come in and craft that, or a Jonathan Nolan could craft something like that. You have to have great creators that really have the writing chops to do something like this. It could be done though. It's not a lost cause.
Can it be done on Amazon though?
But that's the thing. Amazon will hire two inexperienced guys to create something like Rings of Power. And the problem is, here's my biggest problem with modern the IP. The IP problem is you bring in modern writers that read this stuff, and they immediately, their first inclination is, well, this is old. We can change this and make it better. They have no fealty to the original material. So their first thing is, this is what's wrong with these old properties. We can change it and make it better. I even had an actor tell me about True Noir, the thing that I'm working on now. An actor said, there's not enough people of color. There's not enough LGBTQ representation in this. I'm like, well, it takes place in 1932 and 1933. And this actor said, we can change that. We can retcon it and make it the way we should have had it back then.
No.
And I'm just like, it's called True Noir. The whole point is it's fiction and reality cross.
That was Batman on Prime. They made it the reality they wanted with Asian doctors and the black DAs. And yes.
I mean, it's such a weird idea that we are so afraid. I mean, we're a terrible bunch. We've been terrible for thousands and thousands of years. And why are we so afraid of portraying ourselves that way? I mean, talk about denial. But if you find a great writer, great creators that can lean into this and use history, you could do something really, really cool. I just don't think there are very many people alive on this planet today that have the talent to do it. And if they do have the talent, they're making up their own stuff, like Vince Gilligan does Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul.
Well, that's because we live in a time now where everybody thinks, movies or TV shows that take place in any kind of time period, really, everything should be Django'd, right?
Yep.
Everything should be Django'd.
You're absolutely right.
What really should have happened instead of what actually happened.
But there's only one man on earth that can Django things, and that's Quentin Tarantino, and that's because he had a love of everything that came before.
Django didn't happen?
Well, the thing is that
well,
what do you mean?
What they're trying to do is they're trying to Django actual history as opposed to saying, we want to do this alternate history thing and leaning into that as the premise. And that's different because people are far more willing to accept, yep, we know this isn't the way it really was, but we're doing this way because we want to have fun with it and we want to go this way. That's more honest than saying, well, it should have been this way, because nobody really wants to accept that part. It's not about what it should have been, about what it was, or, hi, I'm taking this concept, we're doing it this way because we're leading into the fantasy of it because we want to experiment in this direction. That is a far more ethical approach to playing with things. To Robert's point, a Spectre series would be fantastic. I would love to actually write a series about 008. Bill, he has no stories. And the thing is that I would probably keep him right in line with everything that was on par and course with those first 16 books of what the interests were for, the Crown at that point. It's just different missions, smaller missions, maybe more complex, maybe more on the Mission Impossible side of things where he's not trying to get noticed. And because, again, 008 was the agent that James Bond respected the most out of the 00s. And there's a lot of room there to play, and there's no canon to worry about violating because you're taking him out of all the James Bond stories. So you're making sure that those James Bond stories are preserved to be as awesome as they were, and you can do something different with another character. And if you screw up, well, at least the fans will be like, well, it's just 008.
I mean, you could do a Commander Bond story set in World War II.
Yep.
So
he was a naval officer, a British naval officer in the Second World War.
The question I have though is, are there any Bond fans under 20?
No. You know what?
Yeah.
When we were doing the movie trivia schmodown, they brought in a Bond category. No one, with all of the movie fans that did the movie trivia schmodown, it was me and Mike Kalinowski that knew the Bond franchise, one of the oldest, most venerable franchises. No one knows it. They don't know it. They don't know. All they know is the Daniel Craig movies. That's it.
That's why they need to redo them, Robert. No one knows them.
Yeah, and I would even say even under.
But that's
30,
not a that's not a good thing.
Fans under 30,
but it is a thing.
It is a thing.
They're gonna make them.
Let's keep going through soups, and we'll pivot topics. Did we get this one? I'm sorry.
No, we didn't. I would say Barbara, her dad, she kept citing him. Temporary people shouldn't make permanent decisions. That goes with a lot of our franchises. Sander Brand for 2, Bond in the 60s. Yeah, Bond in the 60s, like a Kingsman movie. Great stuff.
Yeah, I think it's simple.
Some Norwegian guy for 59 Norwegian krona. I know everyone wants Cavill, but I think Alex O'Loughlin would be a great Bond, although he might be too old now. I mean, if Henry is.
Like, I think, look, current people working in entertainment are way overthinking it.
Mm-hmm.
Just make a raunchy Animal House-like comedy, maybe without the grape scene. Just make a badass Bond. Make it a period piece. If that helps, make
a Blade kill vampires.
Make a Blade movie where he kills vampires. How is
simple.
this so hard? Get back to basics on what people expect in their entertainment and stop overthinking it, that it has to check any box or impose things on yourself or the work or whatever to somehow make it palatable, or not make a couple hundred people on X pissed off. Who cares? F them.
Well, that's because they're looking at the wrong check boxes. Because I'll paraphrase George Lucas. After he did Star Wars, the studios kept on saying, "Oh, we need to do more spaceship movies." But George Lucas says, "No, this movie was not about spaceships. It was about something more." And they didn't care, but they made spaceship movies, and what happened? They sucked. Why? Because they weren't as great as Star Wars. And that's the one thing here. If you want to make a Blade movie where he kills vampires, that's fine, but it's not going to do anything more than beyond that. And there's a whole group of writers that say, we want to have a really fun story with Blade where he kills vampires, but there's something a little bit deeper there. And then you have the other side that says, well, we need to check all these boxes with Blade has to have a daughter, or maybe he's got to be like retired or defeated or something. And it's like, no, those are the wrong boxes to check. You want the ones that make people see that movie and go, wow, that was cool. And then watch it a year later and be like, oh my God, this is deeper than I expected it to be. Because it's not really just about Blade killing vampires. It's about Blade maybe reconciling with the fact that he's a day walker and he doesn't want to have that burden of the thirst all the time. And he's trying to explore ways to sort of mitigate that as best as possible, because he knows one day his serum's going to fail him and he might turn to the very thing he hates. That's what you need with a freaking Blade movie.
By the way, who's ripping on Battle Beyond the Stars in our chat? Don't you dare do that.
Yeah,
hey, Battle Beyond the Stars
we don't do that here.
I love that. It's a classic.
We love Battle with the Stars.
I got a Battle Beyond the Stars action figure right back here.
I have a Valkyrie figures.
Yep, you got that. By the way, James Horner scored, John Sayles.
Oh,
yeah.
James Cameron designed a spaceship that looks like the internal female reproductive system. 2 ovaries and breasts.
Oh boy.
Seriously, I'm not kidding.
And then they
The
stole
spaceship,
it.
that's
Look,
what it is.
There was
They
a lot of
stole it from
cocaine
Mandalorian. They
going
stole
on
it
in
from
Hollywood back in
Mandalorian.
those
They
days.
totally stole it.
Yeah.
So, but they missed the fact that they desexualized it.
Yeah.
Lot-
Let's get
lots of
through these real
cocaine.
quick.
If
Sorry,
we
what?
can, Sons and Shadows for 2. Shout out, Jeff. Amazon, MGM, stay away from Stargate. Leave it be. Yeah. Aaron Payne, member for 2 months. Does this panel have opinions on Christopher Guest's work? Watched A Mighty Wind for the first time in a few years. Forgot how much I enjoyed his work.
He's great.
I love
I
him.
love 'em all.
I love him.
Best in Show is fantastic.
Yeah.
Best in Show
Yeah.
is one of my favorites.
So
That'd
good.
be my favorite.
Gate of Marvel, member for 15 months. Oscar 2025 Hollywood Meltdown.
Oh, it's going to be amazing.
Pharaoh Vibes for 1999. How is it that studios hire and retain employees that are not familiar or do not like the same nerd things that we like? How do these people get jobs within the industry and continually shows how much they hate our franchises.
Because the people that hire them don't like them either.
Yeah,
they don't like them, and the thing is, they're good at all the things that have nothing to do with liking a franchise, which is like transactional relationships and climbing the ladder to get into a position where they can be in charge of all this stuff, yet they don't care about the actual thing.
Yeah. And when they do, we see what happens. Brad Winterbaum hired Bo DeMeo because he knew the comics and loved the material, and then he immediately got hated for loving the material by everyone else, told to turn off his comic brain. Yeah.
BS. I feel like.
By the way, he's been killing it on social media. I don't know if he'll ever work again.
We had
2
hours. Oh, he is. He was on. He's got a video game coming out. He's got some Netflix projects coming out. We just had him on 2 hours. We'll talk about it. Yeah, he's definitely not canceled. And he also maybe won a certain something. Lord comment for 2. Chris as James Bond would be a gorgeous casting.
Well, I disagree, even though I just disagree. But thank you, Lord Comment. I'm glad you think so. All right. A quick thing to talk about. This sort of was under the radar. The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power Season 3 is confirmed. But here's the question. Does anyone care? Thoughts?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But here's the thing. We all knew it was coming back, right?
Yes, they signed a 5-year contract. We knew they were going to get 5 seasons. This confirmation is really just kind of kicking a dead horse. At this point, we know it's coming. There's no
slow news day because we all knew it was coming back.
They won't acolyte it. They won't cancel it. He'll tank it. He'll tank the loss for ego, if nothing else.
I'm sorry. Really quickly, remind me how much this show has cost so far.
Well, the rights alone were $450 million or something like that.
Okay, that's just for the rights.
That's for the rights, just the rights.
I'm talking like the cost of the show so far. How much are we talking?
I've bailed out on what per
I
season
think it was like
they're spending.
it was several $1 million an episode. I know that. I don't think it was it over 10?
This is crazy.
Oh, I'm sure it is. The amount of money they're spending on the show is insane.
Acolyte was $300 million. And now, granted, that was incompetence, but
I did not watch second season. Barely got through season 1. I find this show insufferable. And is it Jeff Bezos' ego at this point? What is it?
You heard they're time jumping to him creating the One Ring. So they're literally just going to go right up until the beginning of Lord of the Rings,
We lost Rob, by the way. I don't where
he's so upset about season 3 that he couldn't stand this.
What do you guys think? Is it ego? Is it contractual? What is it?
I know it's partly in contractual.
I think it's more contractual than ego.
You don't think he could break it though? If you were losing that much money?
Yeah, I mean, why are you forced to make a bad television show and make less money?
Because she says whatever the chick is that's in charge of this, as long as people are showing up. But then when we ask for viewing numbers, they say engagements. Had 50 million engagements. But what the hell does that mean? Exactly. What does that mean?
I don't know.
What's the
watch
minutes?
Yeah.
Well,
how small can the audience get by the time the series is done?
Hey, Rob.
Well, sorry, I touched my computer. I get booted off.
Well, the other part is that it's still considered like an Amazon product, and it's paired with Prime. So long as they're not losing, I guess, Prime subscribers, they're able to justify its existence. And on top of that, maybe they'll look at it like, hey, maybe we'll sucker someone to watch an episode every once in a while, and that'll start contributing to that subscriber retention.
Yeah, so there is a price for free shipping. By the way, season 1 was 465 million. Season 2 was 570 million.
You some porn to MK Solid now. Thank you.
Let's a 1-minute new trailer just for X for the new upcoming Snow White movie dropped. I really want to get your thoughts. Alan and I watched it. That means you have to. So we're gonna watch. It's only 1 minute, but what do you notice about this trailer compared to previous trailers? We'll talk about it on the other side.
When I was a little girl, my mother taught me how to whistle, because when you whistle, it's your heart singing. Whistle while you work. Catch that fairy tune. Magic mirror on the wall. Who is the fairest of them all?
Snow White. From Disney.
Find Snow White. The
is going to be so much fun. I was thinking the same thing. I close my eyes.
On March 21st,
The girl I meant to be. Is she a
the magical
I had no
movie event arrives.
Point me in the right direction.
Disney's Snow White. Only in theaters March 21st. Rated PG.
Is that from like the late 90s?
I'd rather be
It's-
beaten by
well,
sticks.
What's interesting about it is it references the legacy of Disney
Yeah.
with the old logos. It's you don't see Disney doing that these days. What do you guys think?
And the castle.
I think
Yeah, right.
I think there's a 0% chance that I'm watching this sober.
I just
Why
like
would you
the
watch it at
Temple of
all?
Doom scene with the minecart chase. I'm
There's
looking
no way.
forward to that.
Oh God. This, I mean, it looks like, I mean, with Rachel Zegler, I think it's already done. And when you see the dislikes on the trailer on YouTube, that's why I think they debuted this 1-minute trailer only on X, right? Because you're not disliking it. You know, people don't understand that, you know, the comment you're getting ratioed, you know, more comments than likes is a ratio or expression of disliking it.
I'm gonna
But
watch it. I'm looking forward to it.
No,
I can't
I'm
wait to
gonna
see how
see it,
much she's
but-
been replaced with the younger actress.
here's the
in
thing.
flashbacks.
The press junket for this is going to be like mining gold in those mining carts. Like it's gonna be insane. The quotes and everything based on there's all this footage of her from D23 like crapping on the legacy of the movie. It was made in the 1930s and very evidently so, right? All of that is going to come back to bite her. There's a new behind the scenes. I'll find it.
Oh,
Where she
I can't wait for the premiere, man, because you know we're going to
Well,
get.
what do
we're
you
gonna
think? I want to get all your thoughts.
We're going to get those questions, you know, like, is it the gayest Snow White we've ever seen? We're going to get those questions.
I want to ask him the same questions again that they asked last year at the D23 and see if she says it. So, what do you think about the legacy of being Snow White? And,
I can't wait.
and see if she says like the correct. Oh, I'm just so happy to play the character.
Well, I would say this. What's interesting about that latest trailer is that it has a very retro format style. Like it doesn't showcase any of the stuff we saw in the previous trailers. If that was the first trailer that came out before Rachel Zegler said anything, I think Disney fans would have been pretty excited for that. But I think right now it's too little too late. I, for one, am not going to be seeing that because I don't have anyone in my family young enough to want to go see such a film. But I will take everyone else's words for it when it comes to the reviews. Because frankly, like I've never been a Disney fan at all in my life. Even as a kid, my parents never wanted me watching them because they didn't trust Disney as a company, and they're very right to do so.
Let's watch
let's see what
this
we have here.
featurette. Let's watch this featurette. It'll give you some insight into how they're pivoting selling this movie.
Pivot.
That was very cool, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The original Snow White, it didn't break the mold, it created the mold. Somehow Walt Disney connects to something inside of us, a kind of childlike wonder and optimism.
There's so much from this animated movie that we have taken from and used in our own. A lot of it with the design of the costumes and the designs of the set pieces.
And action. First day I was shooting, I was a little nervous because I'm doing something that is so iconic. All of a sudden, I'm the evil queen and I get to say that. Magic mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest one of all? We started working on the different looks for the evil queen, and the amount of research that Sandy Powell, our costume designer, showed, it was like magic.
This is based on the original iconic look of the evil queen, and I think it's a really striking look.
It's a human.
What did you think I was?
Nothing. Ghost.
When you think about Snow White, there's so much iconography.
Your bickering won't fix a thing, so whistle while you work.
its place in history is very specific and incredibly
Take it
powerful.
back, I'm not
We want
watching
to
it.
honor it.
Whistle while you work. It's an absolutely beautiful homage to a film that continues to mean so much to people.
The story is fantastic. The music is incredible. And I can't wait for the world to see it.
Yeah, Disney magic.
Oh boy.
I mean, that's a good stellar right there. But
The Queen dance number is going
So,
to be a
but-
killer.
And by the way, the Queen is mid, right? She's mid compared to Snow White.
By the way, so the
no.
opening of that trailer, they show footage from the original Snow White. There's a little montage of the logos of Disney throughout the years. They've pivoted the way they're trying to sell the movie, and they've softened Rachel Zegler. I don't know. I think it's still a loser because I think that people are done with the live action remakes.
We know that. But the problem with them softening her is we know it's an act. We know she doesn't mean it.
We know, but we are not normies. Normies are not going to be aware that
That's the
Zegler
point.
is kind of toxic. What do you guys think? Am I wrong in that assessment?
No,
you're
normies do know
absolutely
she's toxic, actually. I've heard people say weird that don't watch us. Like, it got to
Really?
normies. Yeah. She's
I
very
don't know.
unlikable.
Apparently,
TikTok.
she's getting really well responses to our Broadway show right now. So I mean, that's
who?
Yeah, but Broadway people are different, man.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
that's
And it's not like it's just the audience is going to her show. They're apparently liking her. So we'll see.
The thing is, look, you got parents and kids, and there's always going to be parents and kids, and they're all going to go see this movie, and it's going to do fine. It's going to do fine. You have to
think
move.
it'll
Like
do okay.
I look at this movie, and I think this movie is so creatively bankrupt on 4 Ways Till Sunday. I mean, I worked on the first 20 years ago on the first release of Snow White on DVD. We did I did a Disney Through the Decades feature that was on that disc. And I even took my hardest college course at USC was literally the history of Disney. I had the furor of Disney fans teaching that course. It was the hardest course I ever took, ever, because this guy was a Disney, I don't know, savant. If you didn't get your Disney history right. And I love Disney animation, and I love Snow White. I really do. But to see this as a cobbled together version because they had to make pivots through the whole process of this, I think the movie's going to do fine, but it is so bankrupt on so many levels that you're never going to get me to ever buy into what they've done.
Is this going to make $1 billion? Because it needs to make $1 billion to break even. This movie's racing Captain America for bigger budget.
I would imagine.
reshoots.
Will it make a bit? No, but I think it could do Mufasa numbers.
Yeah, Mufasa made 700 million. I mean,
but that's still not fine.
But the thing is, people, as much as we hated Mufasa, people saw it. Kids saw it. It had a very long theatrical run. And I think Rob is right. I think this one will do the same.
The thing about these live action movies is, remember, the kids who are watching them never saw the originals.
Right.
You know, even Lion King is 30 years old.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, and it's really like we tend to forget these kinds of things. What really bums me out the most about this movie is I think back to the first Hobbit movie and how fun the dwarves were. Mm-hmm. How come they didn't cast a bunch of great character actors to play the dwarves?
Just Peter Dinklage.
I mean, it would have been.
CG.
I mean, yeah, it's such a shame.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, Hollywood's become a very hostile place to midgets, man. Midgets used to get a lot. Well, I'm sorry, little people used to get a lot of work back in the day.
Now you can say it. Now I've been told we can say it. It's not
okay.
Not
So
bad
look,
anymore.
midgets got a lot of work back in the day, man. I remember a time back in the 70s and the 80s, man. There was a lot of work for those little guys, man, and now they are getting screwed over.
Bring back Knick Knack. Yeah.
Time Bandits. Literally, the actor's cast got fired because Peters did that and they changed course. So yeah.
Bring back Bridget the midget.
The other thing, if you're going to go through the trouble of making CGI dwarves, why not make them look like the original dwarves? Because at least they're cute, they're good looking, and there's merchandising potential there. These dwarves, A, look ugly. B, you have no idea which dwarf is which. We know who Dopey is, but you don't really know who the other ones are just by first looking at them.
But that's what human beings could have done. You know, you could have had they could have hired these great character actors to play the same way you get a Will Smith to play the genie in Aladdin. You're killing yourself. You're really undermining the credibility of your movie by not hiring great character actors to play the dwarves.
Right.
You know, and they could have used the perspective that the way they use the technology in Hobbit, they could have done that, and that would have added to this movie's appeal immeasurably.
But dude, there are enough little people who are looking for work, man. Like,
they could have done. That's what I mean. You could have got little people too. Think about the Time Bandits.
Yeah,
I mean, there's
I love that.
who's the little person, the comedian, the guy. He's really funny. He's a stand-up comic.
Oh yeah, he used to play Hornswoggle in the WWE, I think.
No, it's Brad something.
He's great. How come he's not in this movie?
Yeah,
dude, because Peter Dinklage is a dick.
Yeah.
That we have John Winslow in our chat shows that he's a little person. He's also an actor. He goes around like, yeah, Peter Dinklage is not well liked because he literally cost working actors their jobs. People that were playing cliche, perhaps, but roles that now they don't get roles anymore.
It's like George said, man. He kicked the stepladder right from underneath him, man, and no one can rise up with him.
I'll just say one last thing on this and a final topic. If you want to see a really great film with little people, see the movie Tiptoes with Gary Oldman.
No.
Gary Oldman. I was at the premiere screening at Sundance.
Dude, that movie was some bullshit.
I can't believe that movie exists.
I love Gary Oldman, but that was some bullshit. Come on,
I love Gary Oldman. So
Gary Oldman playing a midget was wild, bro. That was wild work.
He was doing Dorf on Golf, basically. No one remembers Dorf on Golf.
No, that's Tim Conway, man. I love Dorf on Golf.
I loved it. Anyway,
bro, Tiptoes might be the most insulting movie I've ever seen.
Was Matthew McConaughey a midget too in that one?
Final topic. Did anyone watch SNL 50, the 50-year SNL?
Yeah. And the concert.
I don't know how you thought it was. Rotten Tomatoes has ranked all the SNL movies. I don't know if you agree with this. We'll go through them. I know we've come up with a bunch of these. I think they're way off. But first of all, what did you think of that SNL 50 special?
Didn't watch it.
Okay.
I
those
enjoyed
that
it.
watched it, what'd you think?
Painful on some of the things I saw.
I saw clips. It looked painful.
Eddie Murphy was not funny. It made me very sad to see Eddie Murphy and have him not be funny.
I mean, I thought the fact that SNL is 50 years old, it's amazing. And you know, it went back and honoring what went on, and a lot of the what's really cool is Questlove's documentary on the music acts of SNL and what they meant to culture, and it really fascinating stuff. I mean, as a snapshot of our culture, it's pretty impressive.
And I was someone who, as a kid, watched SNL. I was too young for it, but if I could stay up late on a Saturday as a kid, it was amazing. The comedians, like, it was, for me, I watched every episode. Now, once I got a TiVo, it was great because I could watch an episode of SNL in 30 minutes just stepping through the commercials. But I found it in the last time SNL was funny was in 2017 when Ryan Gosling was on. I wish I could play the clip. He does a fake commercial for woke jeans. It's hilarious, from 2017.
And his papyrus sketch too.
Papyrus, that was a great bit. All I'm saying is, like, they kind of went a direction where they chose a side politically, which made it not funny.
Well,
and
it's always been that way.
They just kind of leaned into it.
Saturday Night Live has never been as edgy as it has been since the first cast.
Right.
You know, the political commentary, the political comedy was so biting in the 70s, and
they went after everybody. They went after everybody. Whatever the current administration, it changed with Obama. They softballed Obama and did not criticize him like they had other political figures. We're always getting roasted, which was fine. But when it came to Obama, they changed. That's when SNL changed their tune. They were really soft on Obama.
Yeah, I can only think of one sketch that was critical of Obama. It was a hilarious sketch, but never again had they ever poked fun at him.
Well, they started to with Jay Ferrero, but then he left SNL because he didn't like some of the stereotypes of the sketches that he kept on being put into. Because he used to make fun of Obama in the earlier days, and then when he was gone, you stopped getting those criticisms at that level. That was when Seth Meyers was kind of like heading up the show, and it did change dramatically because back in the day, you'd have Chevy Chase making fun of Gerald Ford, and then you have Dan Aykroyd making fun of Jimmy Carter. Right. So, and then you'd have that going on and on and on. John Lovitz was making fun of, I can't remember which politician it was during the Bush era.
Michael Dukakis.
Yeah, Dukakis. And then, Phil Hartman legendarily making fun of Bill Clinton. So yeah, it changed. Like once Tina Fey and all that old guard that kind of was shepherded in from the Phil Hartman years to Will Ferrell and so forth. Once they kind of got out, with the exception of Kenan Thompson, who's been there almost longer than anybody else, you're just not getting those writers anymore that actually want to do that actually want to hit everybody as quickly and as hard as possible with their sketches,
like the Michael Donahue.
Mm-hmm.
So let's look at these rankings.
Sorry, the current guy who's doing Trump is actually doing a good job compared to Alec Baldwin.
Let's look at this. They rank the movie Bob Roberts with Tim Robbins as number 1 at 93%.
That's an SNL movie?
I didn't realize it was an SNL movie, but apparently it's considered that.
Wow.
That's weird. Wayne's World at number 2. Okay. The Blues Brothers number 3. Wayne's World 2 at number 4. MacGruber at number 5. Blues Brothers 2000 at number 6. Coneheads at number 7. Superstar, that's Mary Catherine Gallagher sketch at number 8. Stuart Saves His Family at number 9, and The Ladies' Man at number 10. A Night at the Roxbury from 1998 at number 11. It's Pat. Could you make It's Pat today?
No.
Well, you can, but no one will see it.
By the way,
no one saw it then.
Yeah,
it's at number 12, and it's rated 0%. 0%. What does that say? But that's it. That's the rankings. There's a lot more SNL movies than that. Am I wrong?
Yeah, there's more, right?
I think that's it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Bob Roberts makes no sense. I never considered that. Anyways, what do you guys think? Do we care? Why do I keep looking at Rotten Tomatoes? We should all go to critic lists, I guess. So thoughts?
Don't should make their own lists like this because they'd be far more nuanced.
Yeah, Alan.
Yeah. Build a whole new website. Do it. It's totally free to do that.
All right. Then we're going to wrap it up and leave it there. Because this was a good show. Oh, we've got some final soups that came in. Badger, if you would.
Yes. Pilgrim Media for 2. Gal Gadot is a smoke show next to a troll.
He looks like, confirm for me, Robert, if this is true. Gal Gadot in Snow White looks like a dominatrix. I'm not gonna.
Not there's anything wrong.
You're asking me to confirm that?
Yeah,
Robert, you know what dominatrix look like.
Robert,
you know better than any of us.
She looks like a BDSM outfit or something. Am I wrong? She looks like that. Many drag queens like to dress up as the evil queen. What do you think, Rob? Thoughts?
Well, I would make a pegging joke here and have her take me home, but I won't. She looks good to me.
All right,
pushing the boundaries of California straight with that one.
That's right.
And remember, she's mid compared to Snow White.
Gal Gadot is way better looking, in my opinion. That's just me.
No, I'm kidding. I'm like, when she asked the magic mirror, who's hotter? It's like, give me a break.
Yeah, isn't it enough to be the hottest of them all? Why does she need to be the fairest?
I do like the fact they did make the magic mirror look like the magic mirror in the movie, the classic animation. I thought that was nice. That was a nice touch.
Yeah, and I like the Thomas Kincaid backgrounds as well.
Thomas Kincaid. Red French Moon for 2. Can we stop calling this CGI fest a live action?
Yeah,
you're right. Point. It's like partially a cartoon and a bad one. Well, that's going to wrap it up for us. We are, to let everyone know, we are back. Alan and I are back on Wednesday, and we have a very special show. We are going to be interviewing the director of a movie called Stolen Kingdom.
Oh, yeah.
A documentary playing at the Slamdance Film Festival. It's about Disney fans who break into Disney after hours, steal things, and sell them on eBay or auction market. It's an incredible documentary. I can't believe the footage. It's insane. We're talking to the director. We've got more Disney stories too. What else, Alan?
Yeah, and you and I will be seeing Daredevil this week. The entire
We're
series.
seeing Daredevil. I don't know when we can talk about it.
We can talk about it. We can talk about it once we see it, but we can't review it until Monday.
We will be getting all the episodes too. Daredevil, and then Friday our Oscar preview show, and we'll also review movies opening this week. And Sunday our watch party, Sunday March 2nd, and you are all invited. You all have tuxedos.
Yeah, I got tuxedo.
Robert,
Yeah, we know
You got
you
tuxedo? You can
I'll
put
be
on
there,
the-
dude.
Robert.
I'll be there.
Gary
There you
will
go.
be there. Az will be there. It's fun.
Look at that. Script Doctor's already dressed.
All right. What else do you guys have coming up to plug your channels?
Badger
I
Cast
have,
coming up in 30 minutes.
Script is already in wardrobe here.
Yeah, I have a reaction video to the Andor trailer, so that's coming up. I have to edit out the music, so it'd be later today.
There you go. Rob, when are we seeing you late night? I always
Tonight, I'm doing a show about James Bond. I'm doing a much deeper
When?
dive into Bond tonight.
Nice.
And then you can episode 7 of True Noir has dropped, so you can get that. There's only 3 episodes
Fantastic.
left. Trying to get those done. Episode 7 is a courtroom drama, and then it's got a lot of other things in it too. So
Script.
check it out.
Yes, this Saturday, 7 p.m. Scripts on Saturdays returns with reviewing the screenplay that's been circling around called Mildred, about a badass grandma who comes down to set things right with her family's nefarious business.
Okay, and Badger, you got a stream coming up.
Yeah, Badger Cast coming up at 30 minutes from now. So links in the chat. Thank you, Lori.
Awesome. Okay, we will see you all later in the week, and hopefully Sunday for our watch party. Alan?
Let's get out of here.